It's interesting to see because I feel like we have two extremes now, whereas past generations didn't have such difference. So I think that there's either going to be the kid who is so outgoing and wild and look at me, and then for a lot of them, I think that it's they want to be alone. I think that there's lack of better term, like a coolness to being alone and figuring it out and doing it on your own. And a part of that comes from
Hi,
um,
everyone, and welcome to
broken
Fireside
homes
Chat, a
and stuff
production
like
of
that, and
Allen
so they're
Creek
used
Community
to it.
Church, or AC3 as we like to call ourselves. In today's discussion, we want to dive deeply into a topic of concern for disciples of Jesus or for those who are investigating faith in Christ, so we can chart a path of faithfulness in a world of uncertainty. To that end, we hope this conversation sparks your interest and your learning. If you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe, and we look forward to reading your comments below and getting your take. Now, let's begin.
What's up, party people? Fireside Chats here. And we can say party people because we're young
Yeah, and hip.
and hip.
Yeah,
All you fellow
you
youth students.
agile.
So, hey guys, this is a special rendition of Fireside Chats. My name is Alex. I'm our associate pastor here at Allen Creek Community Church. I oversee our youth ministry as well. And this is Nolan Strawn.
Howdy.
And he's one of our youth leaders. He actually is on the Living Waters board, which is our missions board. And he has done a lot in our engaged leadership program. And so he's one of our younger members of the church, but he's super, super involved. And so as a Gen Z yourself,
Yep.
we wanted to kind of interview him a bit about what does it mean for Gen Z to serve in the church, and as leaders of the church, how can we do a better job at empowering, training, and equipping this next generation that's going to be taking over the church in not such a long time from now?
Kind of scary.
Right? It's a little scary for all of us. I understand the fear there, but I'm actually really, really excited about Gen Z taking over. I'm really excited about what Gen Z is going to do with the church, and I'm really excited just by seeing, things that happen at Passion Conference, things that have happened at the Asbury Revival. I'm just really excited. So, first things first, Nolan, how did you get into leadership at the church? What made you want to become a leader in the church? And yeah, just kind of start there.
Basically, I was put in a position to where I quite literally had nowhere to turn but to a physical Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started reading that, and people who were around me started noticing, and um, they would start to be like, oh, hey, he's reading his, like I have mine too. And so we started forming this group. And so when I was all done with that endeavor, I got in touch with my youth group uh, pastor, and she said, well, I've actually stepped down, but I know this really stinky guy named Alex Gelly, and I'll get you in contact with him.
Very cool.
Um, so that was kind of my intro, but I just got really on fire for God in that moment.
Yeah, so you're in the middle of reading your Bible. You're just starting to catch on to this Jesus train.
Yeah,
People around you see something different about you. Shocking that they would see something different about you when you start to follow Jesus. It's really mind blowing, actually.
yeah. It was definitely an experience, and I thought that one of the easiest ways to get started and get involved was through something that I grew up with, even though I wasn't one of those kids that took youth group very seriously. But I don't know, maybe that's why I thought it'd be an easier step into it.
And then you got here and you said, "Oh man,
You're
what
like,
did I
wait,
get
yeah,
myself into?
what time is it?
What did I get myself into?" Cool. So yeah, as a youth leader, what are some things that you would tell pastors or leaders or anyone in the church that you would say, man, what are some things that you enjoy about being a youth leader? What are some things that you have definitely challenged you and made you a better leader in the church? Um, yeah, what would you say?
So, I mean, as far as things I enjoy about being a youth leader, is I am faced with the reality that I'm one of the first interactions that some of these kids are having with Jesus.
Mm,
Um,
that's good.
and so it's a weird thing because although I know that I might not need to get them to Jesus right now, I'm forming all these ideas in their head um, so that when they're a little bit older and they were in a position like I was, they'll think, hey, maybe I should reach out to Nolan or to Alex. Um, and so you really just have to focus on being their friend, but setting up those boundaries to help them realize like, oh, this is what's different from how I live life right now versus um, how to live a godly life, even with just um, small redirections, I guess.
Yeah, very cool. Like, would you have said as a youth student that there was like any particular leaders in your life that like really helped you hone in on Jesus, even in the midst? You said you didn't take it too seriously, but were
Yeah.
there any leaders that helped you kind of gain a formation of Jesus?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I had two, and I think there was one that was very strict with me, and kind of guy to thump you on the head and be like, "What are you doing?" and call you out. And then there was another one where I knew that I could say anything and it wouldn't blow him away, it wouldn't shock him. I think those are two very important qualities too, because a lot of the youth students don't realize even though they probably could, a lot of them don't feel like they could go to their parents. And so
Mm.
for me, with a lot of my stuff, I felt the same way. And it was, let's talk to a youth leader. And so I kind of forgot what my question was now.
No, you're
But
good. No, that's perfect. It was just like, were there any leaders in your life that
yeah.
really guided you? Because I mean, you're 21.
Hmm.
You're fairly young in the church, and you're already on a missions board in the
Hmm.
church. You're part of our engaged leadership program, which is kind of heading in the direction of upper church leadership.
Yeah.
And as a 21-year-old, what would you say if there was a 21-year-old or younger watching this right now, and they're like, man, I just don't feel like I'm qualified to be a youth leader. I don't feel like I'm qualified to be on a missions board. I don't feel like I'm qualified to even like attend church half the time. What
Yeah.
would you tell that person?
One of the biggest things for me, because I definitely had doubts, even just with being a youth leader. I'm like, I can't be friends with these kids. I don't know anything about them. But even when you start stepping up, it's important to realize that you're not doing it alone. At least for me, none of um, the involvement I've had has been, hey, Nolan, do this one thing alone. And so it's important to,
I need to do that more.
what's that?
Tell you to do stuff alone.
Yeah, probably. Probably. I'm not the greatest at it, but it is very important uh, to lean on the others around you, the other experienced ones, and you start picking up ideas. Like at first, in any meeting, I wouldn't speak up
Yep.
or say my opinion. I'd just kind of sit there, and sometimes I do. I catch myself just sitting and not saying what's on my head. Um, but so that's where some personal growth, like you learn. You don't need to come into it already having all these skills that the other members do.
Yeah, I heard it from a mentor of mine early on, and it was like you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. Like you shouldn't be the smartest person in the room if you're developing a good team. And so,
Mhm.
um, no, that's really good. And so you kind of hold back. You're not speaking much during meetings. And can you talk a little bit about that shift for you, about where you started to say, wait, I have something to say here, and I think that what God is telling me right now is important, and I think it has value, and I'm not gonna just sit here and just have my opinion or have what I think God's put on my heart just sit here. What was that transition like? Um, I know obviously there's some mentors in your life that probably have helped through that process, but yeah, how would you say to that person who says, "Man, I'm sitting in on board meetings, I'm sitting in on elder meetings, and I'm just feeling this. Oh man, I feel like the Holy Spirit's telling me to say something, but do I speak? Do I not speak?" What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think the saying, the worst they can say is no. When
Yeah.
people say that, I think there's definitely some truth. I'd say 90% of it. Yeah, if you say something, there have been times in meetings where I say something and somebody will counteract, and I go, wow, that was dumb. I don't know why I said that, or that makes total sense why that was wrong. Um, but that one is a part of the learning process.
Mm,
And yeah, it does. It can carry some embarrassment, maybe. But realizing that none of them in there are judging you is huge. They have, especially for me, they've invited somebody younger for a reason. And so if you're not speaking up, then it's almost like why are you there? So you want to bring something, and even if at first those are dumb, small little comments or ideas, um, they will grow into something bigger. Um,
Yeah, you bring up a great point. Like, I think a lot of churches, especially the churches I've been a part of, we always bring in younger leaders because we want to know what younger leaders see, right?
yeah,
Like, we want to see um, what you guys see because we're not always seeing it. We have blind spots. We don't know everything, right? And
yeah,
one of the things that we really push here at Allen Creek Community Church is that we love the mission more than the method, right? And so one of the things you'll laugh at this because we've had this conversation a couple of times in youth group meetings, and I love messy games. I love gross games. I think they're the greatest thing ever, and I'm always trying to get our team to be like, yeah, let's do some gross games.
it's chaotic.
Yeah, chaotic, gross, sardines are flying.
Yeah,
I want that, and every time I had to realize that that was a method that I used in the past, but that's not going to work anymore. And
mhm,
it was you and Chloe and some of our other leaders that said, "Hey, man, our kids aren't going to do that.
yeah,
Like they're just not. That's just not who they are." And it was really powerful for me to hear that because then it allowed me to take a step back and say, "Man, am I married to the method or am I married to the mission?"
yeah.
And the mission of games is to get connected, to grow with these kids, to let them have fun together, let their guard down a little bit.
And not only that, but get them to grow together
Yeah.
because it's very easy for this age group, this generation, um, to find their click and then stick to that. And so even finding games that are like, okay,
Break out of that.
yep, you got to get them separated so they're not always dependent on that one person because I for me personally, I think the reality is that a lot of those friend groups won't last the next 10, 15 years.
Because you lived it.
Yeah, I've done it. And it's the weirdest thing. You hear adults say that to you, and you're like, no way, this is my ride or die. Like I'll never lose him. And even my best friend, who I still talk to him, but we're busy. Stuff happens, and so um, growing the skills to be able to meet new people is huge. And I just think that plays a part into not sticking to games where they can group together, all that. But
That's good. So that's really good. So you have a lot to say within the board level. You have a lot to say within the youth group as a leader. But now I want to talk specifically just to your generation. So
Okay.
you're Gen Z,
Mhm.
if I'm correct.
Yep, from what I was. I've never really paid too much attention until the past.
I don't think you're a millennial, and I don't think you're Gen Alpha.
Yeah, no.
So, so Gen Z, what do leaders of the church need to know about Gen Z? What is those that are been in the church a while? What do we need to know about this generation that is here? It's present. I mean, Gen Z's having kids. They're getting married. What do we need to know about what kind of church is Gen Z looking for? Um, what does it look like for a Gen Z person to get connected to Christ? Is it different than before? Yeah, just kind of speak into that.
Yeah, I think I it's interesting to see because I feel like we have two extremes now, whereas past generations didn't have such difference. So I think that there's either going to be the kid who is so outgoing and wild and look at me, and then for a lot of them, I think that they want to be alone. I think that there's lack of better term, like a coolness to being alone and figuring it out and doing it on your own. And a part of that comes from, um, broken homes and stuff like that. And so they're used to it.
It's more of an isolated.
Yeah, and I think reaching out, even just slowly at first, and saying that I'm with you, whether that's from a pastor, a mentor.
That's good.
I think letting everyone from my generation, old and young spectrum of it, that um, that they're seeing is a huge part.
You just brought up being seen, and I
Mhm.
think that's huge. One of the things that really brought me into the church, me and my family into the church, was that we got a phone call literally a couple days after we went to church for the first time
Mhm.
because we put our phone number down,
Yeah.
said we were new, pastor called us. And I think some of us, like millennials, are like, yeah, that's cringy, man. I don't know if I want to do that. Like, I'm kind of invading someone's space. But what I'm hearing from you is like a text message of, "Hey, I'm glad you were at church
Yeah.
on Sunday. I'm glad I saw you." It'll mean a lot to somebody in your generation.
hmm Yeah, and I think even if I mean, even just working under you, like through youth group and stuff, we do an event and then you send a personal message, like not just a group one, but even if you send it to everybody, like it's not received that way. And so it's really nice to hear a peer or a mentor say, "Hey, good job today. You did this really well."
Yeah, so you're referring to when after an event, I'll send a text saying, "Hey,
Yeah,
good job, team," or
yeah,
"Hey, you did really well with this thing or that thing."
yeah. And I know for me, I don't know if it's like this for others, but I'm very critical of myself, and so when I can hear from somebody else how you would criticize how I did on this event or whatever, that's helpful for me because I go, okay, so that's my next goal. I have to do this better. Um, I don't think everyone's like that, um, but again, if there's anyone like me, I enjoy getting feedback, positive and negative.
Your generation is so much going for their attention, like
hmm
so much. I mean, technology has just run that up the flagpole
Yeah.
immensely. And I actually sent you an article kind of talking about some of the technology issues. And
hmm
one of the things it said was that about 57%, um, sorry, about 26% use screen media 8 hours a day or more
Right.
of your generation. And so that's pretty crazy. And then the unlimited and constant connection to the internet fosters major challenges for your generation.
hmm
Uh, Internet pornography is rampant and available at fingertips. They constantly face overflow of information from all kinds of sources, and it makes it hard for them to analyze, discriminate, and trust.
hmm
So there's a few things there. So we got rampant technology, love at your fingertips. Essentially, is what It's not actually love, but it's a fake kind of love
Yeah.
thing. And then you got like, what do I trust? Right? Like,
Right.
what is real? And I think that's huge for your generation. Is what do I trust? And I think there's a huge distrust of the church right now. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think that forever Christians or Christianity have had a stereotype, but when you have access to 4 million people who get to give their own version, it seems like whatever I'm scrolling past and whatever video caption I happen to see for 30 seconds, I go, yeah, you know what? They're right. Like, um, Christians are whatever.
Big answer.
Yeah, uninclusive. They're, um, yeah, now I'm blanking on terms that I hear.
Sure.
But so
Do you think that Gen Z takes video content at its word rather than doing research themselves?
100%, yeah. And even I've been guilty of this. I'll say something, and then a buddy's like, Where'd you find that?" And either one, I've already forgotten, which I think is potentially still an issue of I went through 300 videos that day,
Right.
and now I got to try and find it to prove myself. And
Right.
so there's that aspect. And so I lost my train of thought. Sorry. That's
So you
probably why I'm losing my train of
went
thought.
through 300 videos, man. You're just
You're just bombarded by information, and so not only I think the distrust can come from having all opinions, and it's like I don't know what if you're like, what's the best water bottle size? And then everybody's giving you a different water bottle that's slightly off. What difference does it actually make?
that's really good.
But this guy's saying 28 ounces is better and 29. I don't know sizes of water bottles now, but
32 versus 29 versus 10.
yeah, I'm like it's one drink. You're too zoomed in is what's happening. They're getting too um, deep into it, I guess.
Do you think that the church is in danger because of just the current culture for Gen Z?
I do, and I can't quote. I don't remember, but I've read different things in different articles and seen different videos of just people reporting statistically or on paper. Um, I guess the whole dechurching thing and stepping away. I will be honest, COVID was a hard hit for everything and everybody, and churches were included in that. Some people didn't agree with how churches would handle it. They didn't agree with the people who were still attending. And so, hey, but people responded and they're like, let's do video church now. And so all of a sudden, here's an easier way to still feel involved, and you don't have to deal with your commute. You don't have to deal with getting up at or like ready for the day.
It's almost like fast food church.
100%, yeah. And it's always easier. And sure, there are times when fast food is great. You're late at night driving,
yeah.
and you're hungry, and you don't want a bag of chips, but you want some form of a burger.
Yeah.
But again, I think everybody can see the issue when you eat fast food every day and what that does. And it's the same thing here. If you're not in person, that does change the information that's coming in.
I'm gonna just repeat that just because wow, that was really good, Nolan. You don't eat fast food every day. The same way you should not engage in online church every week. That's huge, man. That's huge. And even if you're in online church, I think getting connected to a small group or whatever, right? Like
Yeah, there's more to just going on Sunday too.
Yeah.
If you really want to grow and grow fast, it's an important aspect is the activities outside of just Sunday service.
That's good. That's good. So I'm going to read this to you,
Uh-oh.
and I'm just going to get your honest opinion about it, and we're just going to start a dialogue. So
Okay.
Identity is a huge issue for your generation,
Mhm.
just huge. So here we go. 1/3 of teenagers in this research study indicate that gender is how a person feels inside and not the birth sex.
Mhm.
7 out of 10 teenagers believe it is acceptable to be born one gender and feel like another.
Mm.
So this is Gen Z. Therefore, it's evident that sexual and gender confusion in our culture is now magnified with Gen Z. A theology of sexuality has traditionally been a missing element in seminary training and church education. But these situations need to change. Churches have a great and timely opportunity to become heralds of healthy sexuality according to God's design. So, first, just what do you think of that?
It's definitely, I've never heard numbers put to it, so it's a little shocking. I don't know if it's shocking actually. I mean, we're surrounded by it every day. Um, I down to its core, I just feel sad for those who get stuck in this loop and this culture, because I think that a lot of times, people who do feel that way wouldn't in a vacuum. I think they're so influenced. Talk about the videos, and
So they wouldn't feel that way in a vacuum. That's good.
yeah, I mean, you just. I watched a video once where they kept bringing people in every couple minutes, and it started with 2 actors, and so they would play this beep sound, and every time they beeped, everybody would stand up, and the guy sitting there would be like, "What?" And it was like 2 or 3 times, and they start doing it.
Yeah.
And then there's another new person, and they keep adding, and eventually everyone, every time the sound goes off, just in this waiting room. And so it's very, I think that just goes to show that you're getting slammed with this culture of um, whatever you feel like in that moment, and then you need to just go 100% on that rather than taking a step back. And if there is somebody that really feels that they're the wrong gender, I think that step back is what's needed, and it's not. Everybody behind them shoves them forward, and they're stuck. There's no way out.
It's like I'm struggling with this, and then everyone pushes me towards what they think I should do, versus me letting me take a step back. With that, I wanted to ask this question, and I don't know how true it is. This is just my observation, so you can be like, Alex, you are dumb wrong.
I've been waiting to say that, so I hope this is the moment.
So, millennials and Xers, they were very much in search of truth.
Mhm.
So, it was a lot of hey, let me do my research, let me find the truth. A lot of it was and I think it still is in a lot of ways, is hey, I'm not just going to believe that because you said it. I'm going to go and try to figure out the answer.
Mhm.
And because I want to know truth. Do you feel like Gen Z wants to know truth? And what does truth look like to Gen Z?
I think that Gen Z likes to I think Gen Z likes to do a lot of assumptions,
Mm,
and especially when it's backed by what they take as trust.
mm,
Um, and even for me, like I'm guilty of, okay, this guy in the past has said certain things true, and so I stopped having to second guess him because he's built that trust even through a podcast or a
yeah.
video, and so I think anything
Proven
that
evidence or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, I think it's way easier to go with something that makes you feel good, and
Mm, that's good.
you're not looking past it. And the moment I feel good, that's where I want to stay. And of
Mm.
course, I'm going to put all my energy and effort into that. Um,
So wait, Nolan, am I hearing that following Jesus isn't just about feeling good?
oh yeah, yeah, 100%.
Okay. So so what I'm hearing is that Jesus saves me, but then I have to make hard choices.
Hmm.
Oh, well, that's crazy. Well, yeah, no, it's curious curiosity to me of like, I think you're right, and I think a lot of millennials are there too. I don't think that Gen Z is alone in that. I think
Sure.
there's a lot of millennials who are also in that camp of I want to feel good. Um, I don't know how to seek truth, or I don't want to seek truth. Um, do you think that? Um,
You hear the term safety a lot too. It's safe. It's
oh,
it's a nice somebody's hugging me. This community is hugging me, and I feel good.
yeah, can you expand on that? Like, what is safety? What is safe?
I think it comes down to finding others like you. So I think what happens is, um, I mean, I guess it's true for the church too. I mean, I've what's the reason I've stayed at this church? This is where I'm comfortable. This is where I see myself staying. But I think that there's something that I can put my finger on to say why this is good and why it feels right. I don't know if a lot of these people have looked that hard into saying, is this really truly helping me? Um, and so yeah, that I guess that bear hug from the community, I think people get lost and they feel alone. And that's very common for my generation is again that alone or scared place. And so I just think that um, maybe these identity cultures tap on their shoulder first and they say, we have you. And um, yeah, I mean, I guess they say we have you before they hear Jesus saying we have you would be the biggest thing.
Yeah. So, what would you say about the idea that um, that somehow Christians are racist, or where do you think the aggression towards that Christianity comes from?
I think that they want to throw everything that they can at Christians or Christianity. Um, I don't know where it comes from because our values don't align perfectly with theirs. They don't want to look into why it doesn't align or they don't want to have any reasoning. It's just, oh, they don't agree. Let's attack, I guess.
Yeah.
It's an immediate, and I don't know. I don't know where it comes from. I think if you have 1,000 people saying this is our safe place, and then here's Christianity saying, well, we don't agree with your safe place, then
Mm,
we need to knock down Christianity, or at least that's their goal.
okay. So it's like a defense mechanism almost of we're just going to break down anything that doesn't agree with us.
Yeah, I think it's an immediate, um, um, not well thought through plan.
So, one of the things that I love about our church is that we take questions seriously.
Hmm.
And I love the fact that we aren't afraid of someone coming in here and being like, I think you're the worst. And it's like, okay, yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
kind of. I mean, I am. That's why I have Jesus. That's,
sure. Yeah,
like why am I here in the first place? It's because I stink. Like I'm
yeah.
awful. Um, and so one of the things I love about our church is we're totally open to those questions, and that's why I ask you about the truth. Like, is Gen Z actually actively interested in the truth, and is that something that's innate to humans, or is that just something that is innate to certain generations?
I mean, like, so we do our investigations class, right?
Mm,
shameless plug, one of the coolest things that I've done,
Yeah.
like even from a fun aspect, because you get all these people just
Grilling the pastor.
throwing out any question that they can think of, um, but observations of that is I don't know how many of my generation have gone through it. Do they all hear it? Yeah, everybody from all my friends to youth group students, we tell them about this, but it doesn't interest them.
Why
Uh,
do you think that is?
I I think a lot of us think that we have it figured out,
Mm.
that we are okay, that you know playing Fortnite till 2 in the morning is better than reading the Bible for a couple
Well,
minutes.
I was about to say it's true, but it's not, because the Bible's definitely better. But
Yeah, Alex is fired. Alex is fired.
no, I'm definitely gonna read my Bible and then play Fortnite until 2 a.m.
Sure, and I mean, even if it doesn't go in that order, just make time. Like, um, yeah, I for sure know it's easy to get sucked into a busy schedule. So that is something that I struggle with. I go a couple days without even thinking about the word, and
One of the things that millennials often struggle with is that they view themselves as not very, they don't see themselves very highly. They don't
mhm,
they don't view themselves as some amazing human. Often if they are there, they've gone through a lot of work to get there.
yeah.
Um, and Gen X was similar. Like, they did not see themselves as the best person in the room. Um, and do you feel like Gen Z, you just mentioned earlier that they kind of think they have it all figured out. Do you think some of that is just is like arrogance of like, we have it all figured out, or is it?
I think that they want, like I said, I think they want to feel like they have it figured out. And so, yeah, I would say. I mean, I've been in that position specifically. I've talked with you about that. Like, what am I doing? I get angry at myself, or I'm disappointed in myself, and you're like, not that big of a deal. Um, I definitely want to have it figured out. And I just think that,
Which isn't new, by the way, just so you
yeah,
know. Like, that's not new to that. Like, from the ages of 18 to 26, that is a very common place to be.
yeah. And I think that, again, what do they find it in first? If you're trying to look for it in Jesus and in Christianity, it takes work. If you try to find it in these other communities, you don't have to do anything. You could reach out once. As far as what?
Like you said, it's hard to find in Christianity, but it's easy to find out everywhere else. What is it?
Finding your purpose, finding out why you are, finding out what you can bring to the table is a huge one. Again, I picked youth group to start in because it was easy, but now I'm not easy.
Well,
It seemed like the easy step.
I mean, you could have thought that, and you walked in and you said, "Dang, this is a lot of work." But
Yeah, and I just think that, but now I'm going through the steps and figuring out, okay, what else can I be good at? I don't know. I get a sense of accomplishment from helping out and expanding.
well, yeah, and you discovered God had a purpose for your life, a plan for your life, and that your value is not from what you do, but from who you are
Hmm.
and whose you are. And that's what's critical here is I think when we think about Gen Z, there's actually a lot of hope for the church because they're battling this stuff, but there actually is this innate desire for truth and community. They're starving for community.
Hmm.
You mentioned the isolation piece, and I
Yeah,
think that the church has to try to change their mindset a little bit from, hey, I'm super like production based, I'm super, everything's got to be excellent, the sermon's got to be excellent, everything's got to be excellent. We got to shift it to hospitality, outreach,
yeah,
interacting that way, because I think that you're right. Like, why do people join sports teams, intramural sports? It's like, I got a community, I got a thing I'm
yeah.
playing with.
Those are your brothers.
Same with firefighters and police officers. They have this camaraderie with each other because they've been through some shared trauma and they've been through some stuff. And I think that there's a similarity to like the community of people who are against Jesus or the community of LGBTQIA. And then there's similarity to like people who, are pro-abortion. Like, I think there's a lot of like different things that there's this community piece.
I would like to add too that I think it's just like the media coming in, excuse me, in such big waves and you get drowned. I think the same thing happens in these other communities. And if you put effort in and you try to do the whole Jesus thing, the whole church community and Christianity, I think you find out that everything's already answered for you.
Yeah.
So when you join these other communities, you're like, where's my spot? And I'm not talking here like, should I do production or youth group? What is God's goal and purpose for us? And it's already written down. It's already clear. There's no question about what we're supposed to be doing.
Because first and foremost, we're a child of God.
Mhm.
First and foremost, me, you, everyone in the world, we're sinners.
Yeah.
Right? We've all fallen short of the glory of God. And I think that's where the breakdown is. It's like, well, you're a horrible person and I'm not. And it's like, come to Allen Creek Community Church and you'll be told, if you say you're a horrible person and I'm not, we will all say, yeah, we are. We are horrible people. Like we will all agree with you because we will say, yes, because we have Jesus. He makes us righteous. He makes us right in his eyes. And because of him, we are trying our very best to follow him each and every day. And so what I would encourage our people is, what do we do about Gen Z is we got to encourage them, man.
Mhm.
Because you guys are the future of the church. And what's been super cool to see is you walking into these leadership positions. And I love that you're speaking up now because you're going to give us perspective on, hey, guess what? My peers, they would love a text message from you guys. They would love a phone call from you guys. They would love to
Yeah.
know that they are seen and wanted. And you're not the first Gen Z person to say that to me. There's been a couple of them that, hey, did you see my TikTok? No, I didn't watch it. I just want to be seen.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a TikTok video, bro. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. But the idea being that they want community over the world around them has this false sense of community, right?
Well, in that article too, it's interesting. It talks about how while Gen Z for the most part loves their parents, but their parents are no longer the role models, and media is a huge part of that, and that's where it can get scary because you have so many different role models out there that admittedly are probably cooler than your parents. Like your parents go to work and
Kylo Ren, I mean,
yeah,
pretty cool.
and so they want to
Darth Maul.
they want to search higher and they're so ambitious, and that's a good thing when applied to the right areas.
So, if I'm somebody who's made it through this video so far, and I'm just raging right now because we've said so many things that they didn't agree with,
Mhm.
what would you tell them about Christianity, about Jesus?
We love you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, you might have this hatred for us, and that is, I don't think that if you were in this room and talking to us that you would feel that hatred back. And so you might even see frustration from Christians, but I think there's a pure hatred that is not there. And I think that as Christians, we receive a lot of that pure hatred. And I wish that they would look even deeper into the person that they're talking to that Christian that they so strongly hate and disagree with. Like, are they really a bad person? Are they, do they wish you hurt or pain? Like,
Yeah.
I think the answer would be no. Not I think. For me, I know. I don't wish pain or
Unless if they're legit Christians, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are definitely people who claim to be Christian and are not living Jesus, right?
Mhm.
And there's definitely people out there that are doing that. But what I would encourage you is like, go look at Jesus. I have not met a single person who starts to read the gospel who isn't entrenched and just in love with this character of Jesus. Like this man who, fully man, fully God, who just radically changed the world. And so if you want to know what a Christian should be, you just look at the Jesus guy, right? And
Yeah.
say, okay, this is what they're supposed to be. And they fall short, but that's the sanctification process, which is a big biblical word for it. We're trying our best to become like Jesus.
Yeah, and I think that's also the problem. If they've already subscribed to this idea that we're bigoted or any of that, and they see it happen with one bad apple or someone who did fall short,
Yeah.
they go, see, look, and then all this focus is on that. And you have this whole other, the entirety of Christianity over here going, but I'm not that guy. Or we don't all feel like that. Um, I think they're quick to look at these small things or these mess ups. And if you turned that around and asked them what their mess ups were, they probably wouldn't want that same attention on them.
Yeah, I always like to ask, if I would have never said I was a Christian, would you have known?
Say again.
I always like to ask the question to somebody, if I would have never said I'm a Christian, would you have known that I'm a Christian?
Like
And-
just you not verbally,
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question to ask. So we're going to wrap it up.
You don't want me to answer it?
That was my question for myself.
Oh, okay. I see.
But yeah.
Rhetorical.
Yeah, rhetorical. But do you want to answer it?
No, you're good.
Okay. So we're gonna wrap it up here, but I guess I think the big question for church leaders is, how do we love Gen Z well, and what does that look like? Like, how do we show them the love of Jesus in a way without obscuring the truth? And this article talked about, this is the perfect time to talk about healthy sexuality and all of those things, which I think is good. But what else would you say? Like, if a Gen Z person walks into your church, what's the best way you can love them?
I think you need to immediately just be with them. Just like I said, they find if somebody finds someone saying the truth and it's providing them safety, like they're gonna cling on to that. And I think we can do the same thing where we can show them that this is indeed a safe place to come and that they are not unwelcome. But just walk with them. And if you want to point out some of their faults, it's very helpful to say, but I did this same thing. Or I even did something worse. Like I've used that with youth students a bunch of times. Like this small thing that I might be talking to you about is nothing. Or I was the same way, or you remind me of me. I think that's very powerful to say to somebody, and won't allow them to just want to push you away so quickly.
And bring it back to the gospel, right? Like bring it back to the fact that Jesus died for that thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, hey, not Creek Week. This is Fireside Chats, guys. We're gonna get like a blooper in here.
We need to just
my face.
Let's just redo it.
My face right now.
Just redo it.
Redo the whole thing. No, we're not going to do that. So, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Nolan, for making some time to hang out with us.
Yeah, thank
We'll
you.
definitely have you back again. That would be great to talk.
No way.
He said no, guys.
This is it.
He's never coming back. We would love to hear from you in the comments. Feel free to write us. We will write back. I might not respond immediately. It might take 2 to 3 business days. But I will get to you, and I will talk to you. And that's what it's all about. It's all about community, discussion, dialogue, fireside chats. Out.
Ooh, the heat.
Yeah, it's fire.
Ooh, it's
Fire.
hot in here.
It's a little
It's
toasty
hot.
with this fire with the side of the chats.
Man, speaking of side, I need to step to the side.
We're done.